Oldsmob 455 here. It's that time of the year again. We're going to winterize the jet boat. This is actually a replacement video for my last winterization video. We're going to use a better antifreeze. I really don't do too much with the gas except store it with a full tank. Never had a problem with that method, even with the new gases of today. Some people like to put stable in there. I never do, and I've never had a problem. I have noticed that if you store it with a empty tank, the gas goes bad pretty fast. I'll most likely remove this battery from the boat and put it on a battery maintainer for the winter time. And then other than that, the only other thing is getting the water out of the block and making sure there's some sort of antifreeze in there. But before I do that, I'm going to run it, let it go through a couple of heat cycles so I can flush out as much stuff as possible. To run the boat in my driveway, I'm going to take a garden hose and hook it up to this valve I have down here. Here's my pump. I'm going to close this valve so the water's forced through the block, and I don't have to worry about pressure because I actually have two pressure relief valves plumbed up here. Here's what that looks like with the hose on. This port here is actually one of the pressure reduction valves. The other one, which is right next to it, doesn't really kick in unless I'm hammering on the motor. Here's a look at the hose attached. Now we'll start it up and let it go through a couple heat cycles. I'm just going to let the water run through it for a little bit now, cool it all down, and then I'll take the plugs out in the water jackets in the block, and I'll flush that out in there a little bit. You can see I have a mechanical fuel pump here. If I had an electric one, and being that this is a 4-stroke car engine, I might shut it off and run the fuel out of the carb. The float bowls could be drained if you wanted to. I'll take that plug in the water jacket of the block out. Sometimes you might have to poke a screwdriver through there to get that flowing. My block's pretty clean yet. There's actually a few of those. I'm going to take them all out and I'll probably crack the hose and try to pressure flush it. I've been meaning to put valves on there, just haven't got around to it. You can see the majority of the water is drained out now. Now I'm going to crack the hose on and off a couple times to pressure flush any stuff out of the block that might be trapped in there. The block is pretty much drained out now. We'll put the plugs back in, going for a minimum dilution of the antifreeze. To get the antifreeze into the engine, I'm going to gravity feed it in with a 5-gallon bucket. I've fitted a gate valve in the bottom of it. I'll be using this antifreeze. You can see right on it, marine. It's quite a bit less toxic than the green stuff. This antifreeze is largely why I'm remaking this video. And not to mention, it's actually quite a bit cheaper than the green stuff. It was like less than $3 a gallon. Here I'm gravity feeding the pink stuff through the bucket into the boat. That hose is attached where the garden hose was attached, and the pump valve is still closed. The pink stuff is not meant for radiators, and this method of winterizing is not applicable to a radiator type situation. So right now the block's filling, and I'm going to wait till I start seeing pink come out the exhaust here, and I'll wait till it's solid pink. Here is the water getting forced out of the exhaust manifolds by the antifreeze. Don't know if you can tell or not, but this side's starting to turn pink. This side is still clear. Probably hard to see on camera, but both sides are solid pink now. I'm just going to let what I got left in the bucket run through it, and then I'll take that hose off and put the cap back on. It took about 5 gallons to get her to come out solid pink. Here it's really pink. Got my cap back on her there. I'm gonna leave my valve closed until springtime when I flush it out before taking it to the lake. That way my block will actually stay full of the antifreeze. It's supposed to also be a anti-corrosive. The way my block is plumbed, the inlet comes up, feeds in the top of the motor, and both the exits also come out the top of the motor. I didn't use these two plugs in this front plate. When I was putting my cap back on, some of the pink stuff got in the bottom there. I'll flush all that out and try to dry up this boat as much as possible. That's about it for the boat winterization video. Good luck with your boat.